Welcome to the Geniuses of Copywriting Podcast, a peek into the minds and strategies of the world's greatest copywriters, marketers, and persuasion experts. And now, here's your host, Brian Casangina.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Geniuses of Copywriting Podcast. I've got a real treat for you today. I've got a guy by the name of Jake Hoffberg. Thanks for coming on the call, Jake. You have come from the Agora world, and you're one of the people that I know of. If I was to think of a financial copywriter, I'm in your Facebook group as well, which is on that subject. We'll come back to later, but this is what we were just discussing off air, about the financial copywriting and the opportunities that exist, which a lot of copywriters, when they're looking for niches to branch into, they know it's there, but it's a bit harder to make the connection of actually going and doing some work there. So I appreciate you coming on to share what you know.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. So how did you get your start in financial copy?
I wanted to be rich. I discovered copywriting, and within, I want to say, a couple months of me hearing that making money as a copywriter versus copywriting for my own YUGE business, that I can get paid really well. My first client ever as a copywriter was remote as a freelancer for an Agora division.
Oh, cool.
So that was apparently impossible, according to lots of people.
So I've heard.
After I told them. But like that was how I got into it. I wanted to make money online, and I wanted to make a lot of it. And I heard that that's where people did it, was in financial, and so I just kind of did that. It was really that simple.
And did it live up to the billing about making heaps of money?
It certainly did. I think with any sort of consulting oriented business, right? There's always that 1% outlier where you can do extraordinarily well in any niche, financial or not, if you really understand how to generate revenue and negotiate deals the right way. But it's hard to ignore the easy promises and aggressive promises you can make in financial offers that you just can't make anywhere else.
Can you give us an example of that kind of thing?
Sure. So let's take its cousin, BizOp, right?
Yeah.
Versus health copy, versus dating and relationships, versus expensive hobbies, right? Which are probably the top niches there are when writing copy because of the infinite demand. So when you have the magic solution, right? The getting the John Carlton getting as close to magic as possible. There really isn't any other thing that's as believable as put your money into a stock, have it explode, 100 or 1,000 or 1,000,000%, and for you to have actually made money while doing nothing, right? Like true speculation.
Yeah.
And there's no other place where what is essentially gambling, like options trading, can look so legitimate. Right. And like, you just can't have those kinds of aggressive claims even in BizOp, which is, I guess, the closest thing to passive push button, easy money, because usually there's still some version of a startup or there's work. Whereas, with financial, it's literally just, you have money and enter this ticker symbol into your brokerage and get money back, right? I don't have to set up a store. I don't have to arbitrage anything, right? So it's like it's so much easier sounding and it's more believable that it could be that easy. Versus, again, like health, where the idea that you're going to get instant pain relief from a chronic issue overnight, really hard to make that promise, right? So like the gains are usually smaller in every other niche, whereas in financial, you really have this opportunity, a believable opportunity, to show people how they could get incredible results with little to no risk, et cetera, et cetera. So,
yeah, and like you say, it's John Carlton's magic pill. You're close that you can get to that with that promise, with amazing results with little to no risk. The closer it is to a no-brainer offer. That's why it's such an appealing offer. And I never thought about it from the point of view, like it's so it's so believable that you could invest in a stock and it goes up. Whereas, if you're looking at a course, someone telling you can make $1 million with Facebook ads.
There really isn't another way to have such incredible transformational claims that there is in a financial offer. It's very, very difficult to get it in other places. So that's what makes it so honestly fun when you're writing and in the unregulated side. Is you can make crazy stuff and have exciting ideas and tell cool stories.
Yeah.
But it's also why people are the most skeptical and the most jaded, even more so than internet marketing, right? Because it's so easy. It's also dramatically easier to lose money in those offers too, because right, it's you have to put money at risk into an investment. Whereas if you have a biz op offer, you could get started with little to no money and start generating income. Whereas, if you're trading options or selling put option or, whatever, right? There's always that possibility where you just tweak yourself. So
yeah, it's like if you're selling a biz op for $5,000, and it'll be a lot harder to sell that cold to a new customer than it is to sell the idea of investing $5,000 in options or the stock market.
Yep, exactly.
So, I know that you're yourself an honest and legitimate copywriter, and you don't do anything shady or anything. But where do you draw the line? Where is Agora's position? Where is your own personal position when it comes to that line between promising, making a really appealing promise, and where do you think you've gone? A person could go too far.
If you've been in health, if you've been in biz op, internet marketing, financial, like if you've been behind the scenes where the sausage gets made, you can be jaded in anything because any place where there's that much money to be made, there's always going to be people who are willing to, we'll just throw that out there as a general blanket statement, right? That not all people in this industry are have integrity or care about their customers. But so aside from that, every industry has that. I think part of where the line comes in is the story that you tell yourself about what it is you're doing. And one of the equally most challenging things about giving investment advice is all of us have to grapple with the reality that we can't predict the future. And when you're selling a financial product, you're selling an opportunity, right? You're selling a version of the future that could be true, but it isn't like a widget where here's the thing, here's what it does, and if it doesn't do that thing, I'll give you your money back. If you want to be a mainstream media publication and talk about, well, you can go to the Wall Street Journal and get all the best news in the world. So like, why would you pay thousands of times more to buy a product about stocks from a different company when it's free everywhere? So on one side, you're always subject to the whims of the market in terms of a lot of times the actual best investment opportunities are not the things that are hot. They're not the things that are interesting to the reader. And so because like usually the best times to buy is before
everybody knows about it. Yeah.
Right. So for example, right, like Bitcoin, right? Everyone saw in 2017 that thing went nuclear. Well, at Agora, people have been talking about Bitcoin since 2014. It's been the best time to invest, but no one really cared because it was this weird fringe idea. But it wasn't until it had this big push where people started being like super excited, and those offers sold like crack.
I wish I'd listened to Agora back then.
Well, right, but like it's selective bias, right? Because there's a lot of predictions that people like Agora have been wildly wrong about, right?
True.
And so like to come back around, right? The best that we can do from a copywriting perspective is to go out with ideas that we have high convictions in, or that the guru we're writing has high convictions in and is willing to put their name on. And I think this is a Bill Bonnerism, right? Is is our readers will forgive us for being wrong, but they'll never forgive us for being lazy.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where you got to go. So, if you're going to be a sloppy, lazy copywriter and not really investigate the idea and build the case and really create a high conviction idea, well, then you got to deal with that, with the consequences of that on your own. But so if you know you're selling shit and you know you're selling garbage and you don't believe in this thing and you're just doing it for the money, right? That's, I think, where the ethical line gets crossed. But if you really believe that this is, whether it's the stock story you're promoting, it's the options trading strategy that you're doing, that you've got a really exciting opportunity that these readers can take advantage of, and you can't control the outcome of what happens after that, and that's really the best that you can do. So I think that's really like the ethical line for all marketers everywhere is if you believe in what you're selling and have conviction in what you're doing, then use any means necessary. But if you know that what you're selling is shit and it's a scam, well then.
Yeah. So, I sort of asked that question for out of personal interest, just trying to find out what your point of view on it was. So I've heard a lot of gurus talk about, about pushing that line, pushing the envelope, and skating that line, that thin line between what's real and what's not. But I think you offered some really solid advice there. Now, what about the opportunity in financial copywriting that you mentioned? I mean, how much of an opportunity is there in this niche, and how do we get into it?
Like, what is financial, right? Because it's such a gigantic. It's like saying, what is health?
Yeah.
And now for in the copywriting space, we kind of reduced those things to products that are convenient to sell, right? So in health, if we're doing health copywriting, we might default to meaning we're selling supplements, courses, and I don't know, gym equipment, right? But like the health niche is dramatically larger than that. Same thing with financial. So financial, I think if you look at financial services, accounts for like a third of the world GDP or some stupid number like that. And, we're talking, you have the very, very regulated side of the financial services industry. So this is banks, hedge funds, brokerages, insurance companies, right? And that could be, life insurance, auto insurance, health insurance, mutual, like all pension funds, like all these big, gigantic, corporations that are selling a financial product, right?
Yeah.
Which is some, it's air, right? There's nothing there. It's paperwork, and then money moves from one column to another, and then fees get skimmed through the middle.
Yeah, they sure do.
So they sure do, right? You have things like merchant processing accounts. So that could be Stripe, right? And so that's a financial service right there, right? They're providing a financial service to a business, which is processing transactions. You could be talking about advisory services, right? So someone advising an individual or a business on what to do with taxes or accounting or cash flow management. Right? So like an accountant, right? Or CPA or financial advisor or wealth manager. These people have offer in the sense of the niche financial advice or financial services. And then, you've got fintech, right? You have platforms. That's basically software, SaaS products combined with financial uses, like Agora, who publish information about how to make money with stocks or options. You have the gigantic industry of real estate investment seminars, which has been going on forever, right? And, these people sell expensive courses that are, multiple tens of thousands of dollars to teach you how to get rich, flipping homes or investing in real estate, doing these, high leverage deals kind of thing. It's bank lending, it's, other creative financing strategies. So you've got this very, very large universe of companies that are trying to sell financial solutions or financial advice to someone else. And that's not ever going away. And I think that's what makes this such a phenomenal opportunity is that people always need advice about their money. People always need someone to tell them what to do to invest it. People always need help solving their money problems. They either need more of it. They need to fix their debt issues. They need to improve their credit score. They need to term. They need to save for their kids' college education. They need to plan for disasters. They have constant issues that eventually come back to financial products or services. So that's like the big macro thing, right? And it's like super high profit margins because there's nothing really getting sold. It's kind of like the ultimate information product, right? It's currency, it's money, just floats around. And this is in a lot of ways what creates the challenge for most people trying to come into the opportunity is that, I can't tell you how many copywriters have tried to tell me that they can write for any niche, and they're like, yeah, I can write for anything. And it's like, no, you fucking can't, because no one who's good at anything would ever suggest that, like, I can write health copy, SaaS products, B2B. Like, no one would ever say that if they were serious about writing copy. And like the big challenge, right, is when people, they take a copywriting course and they hear about features and benefits, and they're trying to get in the avatar's mind and be like, do you struggle? Do you sleep? Do you lay awake, right, worried about your retirement savings? Well, here's a solution. It's this newsletter, right? It's like, it's not clean problem solution things. These are exciting ideas, exciting stories, super skeptical people. There's a knowledge that you need of how does finances work? What do people believe about finance? Because marketing to someone who's like an Austrian School of Economics person has a pretty clean set of beliefs versus a Keynesian. And if you don't know what that means, right? It's like, how are you ever going to have a conversation with your audience that's meaningful and win their trust versus someone who's used to the very banal internet marketing style of copywriting. So there's this huge opportunity, but there's also this barrier to entry that most people are not willing to work through, and they get frustrated and they give up too early, and they go, I don't know, they go do something else. So the opportunity is massive. I keep cutting you off.
No, it's fine. I think I've got a bit of delay here on my end, but it's like, how does a person, like, and we're not going into the nuts and bolts of financial copywriting on this call, but how does someone get their start on that journey? Because there's a lot of stuff to learn. How does that actually work?
Yeah. So this is so when I started, I at least had a background in sales. I didn't know anything about finance or investing outside of managing my own personal money, in the sense of like, here's how much money I spend every month, right? Like personal finance stuff. So I think one of the challenging parts is if you're new to marketing and sales and copywriting, and you're new to financial at the same time, right? There's a lot that you have to learn all at the same time, right? You need to learn. And also it's like, it's really the hardest thing to do, because you're competing against the world's best copywriters. But I mean, there really is no substitute for, on a daily basis, studying, promotions that are running right now, so that you get a feel for what good copy looks like, what sales processes look like how are these products being sold. Like, you have to know what that is. Be aware of what's happening right now in the financial markets, because one of the most challenging things about financial, but also the coolest thing, is that it changes all the time. And unlike in health, where the same 7 things that have been the top 7 killers of people, and that means there's new opportunities that get created. The mood of the market changes. And so, yes, do you want to have some fundamentals and foundationally know, like, how does finance work and all those other things, but like, more importantly, as a marketer, it's getting really, really in tune with the mood of the audience right now, so that you can connect to them where they are, and lead them to a solution, versus defaulting into very hypey, aggressive, greed-oriented copy or hyper scary doom and gloom copy, which, and like those are things that, copywriting formulas and templates don't show you. That can be said about anything, right? But like people are most hesitant. They hear about the big money that can get me in financial, but they also don't like to hear that, oh, by the way, this is going to require effort for a while. So it's like, so what do I do every day? I'm reading promotions. I'm studying the marketing that's going on. I use BuzzSumo a lot, which is basically tracking what stories are people talking about. So I'm looking for what are people talking about, right? What are people sharing? Like, what's the mainstream media talking about? And there really isn't, and really, like, if you're reading Agora, editor top financial gurus right now whose job is to write editorial content for our market, at least the Agora market. So there really is no substitute for just spending time actually reading and learning and having a genuine interest in what is interesting to the audience and being interested in helping these people.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. I've read my fair share of Agora promos that I've come across over the years, but I've never really gone in deep. And the way you explained it sort of shows the reason why. Not being a financial copywriter, I don't have that in-depth knowledge of the niche that you do and other financial copywriters do to really understand it on a deeper level. So that really makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and again, there's I think this is like the part art, part science, where is there formulaic components to structuring marketing efforts? There sure is. And there's ways to structure sales letters. We know we need to answer objections, but when you're researching a financial opportunity, right? Like you really have to, you have to do some research, right? If you're going to do a stock story, you better know a lot about that stock.
Yeah.
And right, if you got a systems promo, you better really understand that unique mechanism and explaining how simple and easy it is to make money. And you better have proof or some kind of track record that you can use to back up your claims. So,
which are things that people talk about with other niches as well, but they're even more important in the financial niche. I think it's even more important to get that right.
Yes. So, and also just there's such a huge volume of things coming out where and things can change so fast. So again, right, like how do you break into financial copy? Start reading a lot. Read a lot of copy, write stuff, and there's no substitute for moving quickly and getting stuff into the market and seeing what people respond to.
Yeah. That's the first step, and I think a lot of people listening to this show are really interested in that community that financial copywriting presents at the moment. Now, you were saying to me off the air that there's the biggest one of the biggest opportunities right now is in this area of financial copywriting.
Yeah. So again, this is I had to temper my excitement and enthusiasm as I've sold plenty of courses and information products on how to write financial copy. And I've tried to redo a lot of my, how do I say this? I have gone away from the typical urge of the way people sell copywriting opportunities as this easy push button side hustle where you can just make six figures from the laptop lifestyle and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And if you want to do that, there's a lot of other easier opportunities to, make like 5 figures a month or, make 6 figures, not really working hard. But for me, it's like, if you aren't seriously trying to make 7 figures a year or like high 6 figures, it seems like there's just other stuff you should just go do, because if you're not, it's going to be really hard to motivate yourself to stay competitive in this niche. It's also going to be hard for you to delay gratification long enough for you to get the rewards that it usually takes. But the opportunity is real for a lot of reasons. And the first being, you get a first grade education on investing in finance and what's going on, and you get to be exposed to lots of really cool stuff, and you get to be connected to the world and the politics and new technologies and new exciting companies, and that's like a little club that I think is fun to belong to, is being able to talk to other people about investing in the stock market and what's going on. And that's that's part of the identity that our market has. And, you get to be part of that. I think that's like why people like the financial media, right? It allows them to feel connected to the bigger world and to feel smart and to feel like that, they're going to be able to protect their families. So, that in general from that perspective is cool. You get to learn. Now, on the flip side, you also get exposed to lots of things you shouldn't be putting your money into. You might sell yourself. But, if you have a sincere, right, if you're long on the opportunity of financial copy or financial advice or whatever, we have this thing called the coronavirus, and depending on when people are listening to this. And so that means, financial services has been like that last industry that has resisted modernization for like the past 10 years, right?
Yeah.
And people have been saying, financial services ripe for disruption, blah, 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 blah. But, like the powers that be, the status quo is not motivated to disrupt themselves. And they have enough juice to shut down pretty much all of it because we won't get into the conspiracy theory side of Wall Street and the government, but we all know it's there.
Yeah.
So when you look at, right now, when do people make changes to their financial portfolio, right? Like, why are people motivated all of a sudden to care about investing and their money? Well, it usually happens because something external has happened in their life, right? So we call these, in the financial advisory role, this is money in motion. This is, I call them buying windows. So usually people are not thinking about their professional traders. They're usually doing other stuff. And so they're not thinking about getting life insurance. They're not thinking about estate planning. They're not thinking about they're just not, right? But then they are, right? And usually for most people in a normal circumstance, it's after their last kids, they've gone to college, and now they're maybe 10 years or 5 years away from retirement, and they kind of think, holy shit, I don't have enough money saved. And if I don't figure something out, I'm never going to have enough saved to retire.
Yeah.
But you also have things like they get fired and they lose a bunch of money, or a global pandemic shuts down the global economy, and all of a sudden no one has any cash.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden people are like, man, do I have the right insurance? Or like, do I have, what do I do about my job? And like, people now are very motivated to look at their finances and be like, I need to do something about this. So, and whether it's credit, it's debt consolidation, it's side hustle, it's learning how to trade, it's deciding that they're going to take this seriously now. But people are only motivated to change when stuff happens on the outside, because otherwise, why would they put in the effort? And so, and I really think in the future that the way things are going, right? If you can't manage money, sell, lead manage other people, or code, like, man, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
What are you going to do for work? And so, financial services and understanding how to sell financial services, I think, is like such a gigantic skill, because really what you're learning how to do is how to sell an idea and how to sell a vision of the future. And that skill is the ultimate skill, right? That is what politics is made up of. That's what leadership is made up of. It's creating a compelling vision of the future that people want to believe in and follow and go towards, and trust that it can be real if you do this one simple thing.
Yeah.
Right. So like from the macro conceptual, I think that if you're really thinking long term about what the skill really is, right? It's understanding how to sell people on a future opportunity. Well, that thing is a very portable skill rather, into anything that you do. there's this big shift and trend in people's attitude going to be part of that process. They're looking for information or looking for really a very understand, ideas, and you can make those simple and easy for people to do. Well, there really is no limit to the amount of money that you can make, because financial products have the benefit of having high scale, because all you're doing is just moving money in from one place into the next. Like no product has to get made.
Yeah. So what is the next step for somebody who does all that? They want to join the world of financial copywriting. They know the opportunities there. They know they're really serious about learning how to sell it. What are some steps they can take? Should they work for a company like Agora, or should they look for other companies, or should they create an offer of their own of some kind?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I think how they get started very much is the chicken and the egg problem, which is, people need experience to get started, but they need to get started to get experience.
Yeah.
And to some degree, this also comes down to, what are you willing to sacrifice to get everything that you want in life, right? So most people, when they hear about how much money that can get made, they want to have their cake and eat it too. Is they the laptop lifestyle, not work very hard, and then work remote and do all this thing, but they don't have any skill, and they don't want to, and they think that somehow it's a good opportunity for me to invest into training those people who aren't very committed. And so versus where there's always an opportunity to go work in-house at a company like Agora and have get paid to learn, get real mentorship, have a company that's going to throw a lot of traffic and money at your promotions, but the sacrifices is you might have to move to Baltimore, or you might need to move to South Florida or somewhere to take advantage of that opportunity. And most people have convenient excuses as to why they can't do that, which are not real. They're just excuses. And even though people think oh, well, I can't move because, my kids or my wife, and I don't, who cares? If you really believed in yourself and the opportunity, you would move your family.
Yeah.
Because people do it all the time, right? Oh, I can't do that. Well, I don't really want to do that because I don't want to live in Baltimore. Well, guess what? No one wants to live in fucking Baltimore. It's the same thing of if Warren Buffett said, hey, why don't you come work at Berkshire Hathaway, but you have to move to Omaha? You know what, Warren, you had me at, well, I had to move to Omaha. I don't know. I really want to be free and do it. And so, part of this is, you really got to decide, is this what you want? And if you're committed, you'll figure out how to find mentors, how to get the skill, and you'll be willing to play the long game and understand that you're not going to get rich overnight, that it is a process and it's going to require work. And so if you're not willing to do that, then I would recommend that you don't even bother getting started in financial.
Yeah.
And so, there's lots of great ways to get mentorship, right? You go work for a company, you work for an agency, you hire a mentor, and it costs that kind of money. This would normally, I would say, right, go sell your own products and do that if you've never copywritten, but it's really hard to sell financial products. So I wouldn't recommend that. But again, there just is no substitute for doing the actual fundamental foundational work, which is reading a promo every day, reading the news and coming up with new ideas every single day, and actually just writing copy and figuring out a way to get your copy tested. And I think I basically worked for free for my first 3 months, and I just wrote a shit ton of really, really bad copy. And I just did that, and then eventually it's really this place is a small business. At the end of the day, everyone knows each other. It's a small world. Same thing with all the other niches. Really, once you get to the top where the main opportunities are, it's a small world. And everyone on our side, everyone on the side of the coin is hiring. We know this, right? We know all the other people who own these businesses. We know a bunch of the top copywriters, and we are constantly bombarded by opportunity seekers who have no skill and no work ethic, they don't really have any care to do it. But you're serious, and you can demonstrate that you're serious, and you can demonstrate that you really want this, you can do it over that what I'd say would be like the first kind of level of like, what should you do? You really got to make that decision that this is what you want to do. And that was actually the reason why I created my group, the Financial Copywriting Academy, a couple years ago. Is there really wasn't a place for people who are looking to get started. There's a couple courses that you could buy, and people kind of whisper. It was like whispers, behind the scenes of financial and all this money and et cetera, et cetera. And so the whole reason I made that group was really as a way just to talk about ideas and what was going on, and to create that that almost like what is it, the salon, right, where intellectuals can get together and talk about ideas, or doing that, talking about copy. That's all free, right? You don't need to pay anyone necessarily to do that stuff. And that was how I built a ton of my relationships, was by that. And that was in a lot of ways how I started to get a lot better. Was I just put myself in a position where I could talk to people and develop ideas and study things, and shit talk people a little bit too. But as those arguments, it was like developing that critical thinking skill that's so important, and it's so hard to teach, and it's so hard to. It's like selling people on mindset, right? Hard thing to sell, but very important. Usually the thing that makes the difference. And selling people on critical thinking, and you need to develop that skill, and you need to learn how to do research and how to think for yourself, and to make connections. Like, that's a hard skill, right? That takes effort, and I can't teach you that in a copywriting course.
True. Yeah, that's why I was keen to explore the group at the end of this call. So what is the name of the group?
Called the Financial Copywriting Academy. You can find it on Facebook. And a lot of what I do in that group, and it's a free group, so I manage it to the best of my ability. But like, a lot of what I'm doing is, I'm usually, like, the main reason I use Facebook right now is I look for ads. I'm looking for what people are running. I'm studying like what's going on compliance wise. And so, I try and share the things that I find. I share ads that are showing up in my feed. I share news stories and trends that I'm tracking, and kind of what I think is going on. I used to talk a lot more about propaganda and media narratives, and Tucker Carlson is probably my favorite anchor. I think whoever does his writing is just spot on. And a lot of the reasons why I did this was it's actually a really good bellwether. I found was I would try and just like test topics and see like what did people respond to, and it was constantly a gut check. Like, no one cared about subprime credit cards, or subprime auto loans, even though it's like I see like this big thing. It's like, all right, no one cares about that. But I remember in 2017, I would talk about cryptocurrencies, and like it would explode. And I was like, all right, cool. People are very passionate about this and they care. Or like, I talked about civil liberties and, big data and anti-tech stuff. And there's like another one where it's like, all right, man, people are talking about this. They're excited. And so, I've really, really used that group as a way to help people get into the mix and see what's going on, and get some version of a look as to, like, what do I do on a regular basis. And then, of course, for people who want to work with me, they want to learn the actual foundational, like how to write financial copy. I've got programs and mentorship courses and mentorship programs on top of that. But, really that thing was designed to be a resource of getting people past the newbie stage, since I don't really like to work with newbies. I find it a lot of effort to do that. And so I found it's much more beneficial just to give away a lot of that stuff for free and let the newbies figure that shit out on their own, than for me to be responsible for them and having to like do way too much handholding and coaching. I'd rather just have people who've already decided or who are real copywriters already sign up for paid programs. Because I found it's a losing game for me when people are no experience, no skill, have never made $1 in copywriting, for them to buy one of my programs and for me to, with a straight face, be like, you'll be making 6 figures next year doing this.
Yeah. And the group does a great job of giving away that info.
Yep. And like, I'm a big believer that, look, I could give away literally 100% of my information products, and 95% of people still wouldn't know what to do with it. I don't have any issue with telling people what to do or how to do it, or even basic copywriting stuff. But the way that I do business is I've really shifted everything to not giving people lots of information and stuff and done for you things, but actually designing programs that they're very simple, but literally what people pay me now to do is to come into a program and then they do the work. And so I'm actually running a program right now in short form copy, and it's probably the most scaled down I've ever done it. Usually I throw in lots of training and there's all this coaching and weekly copy calls and all this other thing. And I found that was wildly counterproductive. The more I help people, the more helpless they became. I've put in a lot of time and attention to building the group, to providing lots of free resources, to helping people get started.
Yeah, exactly right. So if you're listening on iTunes, I'll chuck the link on this page at geniusesofcopywriting.com on Jake's page on the site, or you can search Facebook for the Financial Copywriting Agency, Financial Copywriting Academy. Sorry. And it's one of the few groups that I'm following, and it seems to have some really good information. I saw you posting in there recently. So it's a really valuable resource for that.
And also, you'll if you like some good copywriting shit talkers in there too. I like to stir things up a little bit and get people arguing. And so there's some people that you might see that of that are real working copywriters, and sometimes we get into it and it's fun. So.
Yeah, it's always good fun to watch. Yeah. All right. I appreciate you sharing that with us, Jake. It's a massive opportunity and very lucrative. So I thank you for coming on the call. I strongly recommend that everyone go and join the Financial Copywriting Academy group on Facebook. Again, I'll chuck the link on the geniusesofcopywriting.com website as well. Thanks for sharing all that with us, and we'll have to do this again sometime.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Not a problem. I'll catch up with you soon. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Geniuses of Copywriting with Brian Casangina. To get the full transcript and all the resources mentioned on today's show, go to www.geniusesofcopywriting.com now.